I was crouched in the attic when I heard my husband's voice say, "Check upstairs one more time." That's when I knew Emma had been right all along. Let me back up. 3 days earlier, I was packing for a pediatric nursing conference in Seattle. It was November, just before Thanksgiving, and I'd been looking forward to this trip for months. I had a presentation on childhood trauma care that I'd worked on for weeks. My husband Marcus seemed supportive, maybe a little too supportive. He kept saying things like, "Don't worry about us, babe. Emma and I will have a guy's weekend." Except Emma wasn't a guy. She was our 7-year-old daughter. The morning I was supposed to leave, I found Emma at the kitchen table with her crayons spread everywhere. She was always drawing. That kid. Princesses, rainbows, our dog Biscuit. But that morning, the picture stopped me cold. It was our house. Our actual house with the blue shutters and the maple tree out front. Except in Emma's drawing, the house was on fire. Orange and red flames shooting out of every window. And standing on the lawn, perfectly safe, was a stick figure that could only be Marcus. He had a smile on his face. "Emma, honey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's this?" She didn't look up, just kept coloring, pressing down so hard the crayon snapped. "It's Daddy." "I can see that. But why is our house on fire?" She finally looked at me, and her eyes were filled with something I'd never seen before. Not fear exactly, more like certainty. I had a bad dream. Kids have bad dreams all the time. I told myself that as I knelt beside her. I told myself that as I held her and promised everything was fine. I told myself that as I loaded my suitcase into the car 2 hours later. But Emma wouldn't let go of my hand. "Mommy, don't go. It's only 3 days, sweetheart. I'll be back before you know it. Please." Her voice cracked. "Something bad is going to happen." Marcus appeared in the doorway, all smiles. "Come on, Em. Let your mom go to her conference. We're going to have fun. Pizza, movies, the whole deal." I looked at Emma's face, then at Marcus's. My husband of 9 years, the man who made me breakfast every Sunday, the man who coached Emma's soccer team. I chose to believe him. I shouldn't have. I was about an hour outside Portland when Emma FaceTimed me. Her face filled the screen, tear-stained and panicked. "Mommy, there are 2 men in the garage with Daddy." My stomach dropped. "What kind of men?" "I don't know. I heard them from upstairs. They're talking about fire stuff." "Fire stuff?" "Like electrical things. Panels and wires." Marcus's voice in the background. "Emma, who are you talking to?" The screen went dark. I immediately called Marcus. He answered on the first ring, breathing a little heavy. "Hey babe, everything okay?" "Emma said there are men in our garage." "Oh." A pause. "Yeah, contractors. I'm finally getting that basement renovation done. Thought I'd surprise you." It sounded reasonable. Marcus had been talking about finishing the basement for years. She seemed scared. You know how she is. Shy around strangers. His voice was so normal. "So Marcus, don't worry about it. Focus on your conference." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. I made it another 30 minutes before Emma texted me. Just 4 words. "Mom, come home. Now." Then a voice memo. I pulled over on the side of I-5 to listen. Emma's whisper, barely audible. I heard Daddy on the phone. He said, "Make it look like an electrical fire and 9 p.m., and something about insurance." "Mommy, I'm scared." My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Make it look like an electrical fire. At 9 p.m. Insurance. I did the math without wanting to. Marcus had insisted we increase my life insurance policy last year. "You're the breadwinner," he'd said. "We need to protect our family." I'd signed the papers without really reading them. What was it? 1 million? More? And then I remembered. 2 months ago, Marcus had been stressed. More stressed than usual. He'd started getting phone calls at weird hours, always taking them in another room. He'd become secretive about his laptop, closing it quickly when I walked by. When I asked what was wrong, he'd say, "Just work stuff, babe. Don't worry about it." I wasn't supposed to know that Marcus had been investing in cryptocurrency. He'd mentioned it once, casually, saying he'd put a little money into Bitcoin. I'd assumed he meant a few $100s from his own account. What if it was more? What if he'd lost everything? I did a U-turn right there on the highway. The 3-hour drive back to Portland was the longest of my life. I tried calling Marcus twice. Both times it went to voicemail. I tried calling Emma. No answer. I thought about calling 911. But what would I say? My daughter heard something suspicious? My husband is planning to burn down our house? I had no proof. Just a 7-year-old's voice memo and my own spiraling paranoia. What if I was wrong? What if Marcus really was just renovating the basement and I was about to destroy my marriage over a misunderstanding? Everyone would think I was crazy, the paranoid wife who couldn't trust her husband. But what if I was right? I got home at 8:47 p.m., 13 minutes before 9. I parked 3 blocks away and walked, my heart hammering in my chest. Our house looked normal, lights on downstairs, Marcus's car in the driveway. A white van I didn't recognize parked across the street. I let myself in through the back door as quietly as possible. The house was silent except for the TV playing in the living room. Some sitcom. Canned laughter. Emma's bedroom door was open. Empty. Emma? I whispered. Nothing. I crept down the hallway toward the master bedroom. That's when I heard voices from downstairs. Male voices. More than one. I ducked into our bedroom and immediately spotted Marcus's laptop on the desk, open and unlocked. He never left it unlocked. My hands moved before my brain could stop them, clicking on his email. The first thing I saw was a message from someone called Crypto King 88 with the subject line, "Final Warning." I opened it. "Marcus, this is your last chance. You owe us $800,000. We know about the life insurance policy on your wife. We know your plan. We want 60% when it pays out, or we'll go to the police ourselves." My vision blurred. $800,000. Marcus owed someone $800,000. I scrolled frantically through his emails. There were dozens from cryptocurrency exchanges, margin calls, liquidation notices. He'd started with our joint savings account, just the $5,000 we'd set aside for emergencies. Then he'd moved to his own account. Then he'd taken a loan against his car. Then another loan against the house. And then he'd started using my inheritance. My father had died 2 years ago and left me $400,000. I'd wanted to put it in a trust for Emma's education, but Marcus had convinced me to invest it. "Let me grow this for you," he'd said. "I've been studying the markets." He'd lost it all, every penny. I found the life insurance policy in his downloads folder. $1.5 million, payable to Marcus Chen in the event of my death. I'd signed it 18 months ago, thinking I was protecting my family. Below that was a folder labeled Renovation. I opened it. It wasn't about a basement. It was a blueprint for murder. Detailed notes about our home's electrical system. Photos of the breaker box. A step-by-step plan. Drill a hole in the electrical panel. Strip wire insulation. Create a short circuit that would spark and ignite. The fire would start in the basement, travel up through the walls, and engulf the second floor where the bedrooms were located. Estimated time for the house to become fully involved, 12 to 15 minutes. Too fast for anyone to escape. There were even notes about making sure Emma and I would be asleep. Give them melatonin gummies at 8:30. They'll be out by 9. I heard footsteps on the stairs. I grabbed my phone, snapped photos of every incriminating email and document I could, and slid under the bed just as the bedroom door opened. Marcus's voice. "The laptop's here. I must have left it open. Shit." Another male voice. "Did she see anything?" How would she see anything? She's 3 hours away at her conference. You sure about that? I watched her drive away myself. Stop being paranoid. The laptop snapped shut. Footsteps moved away. But I stayed frozen under that bed, my phone clutched to my chest, trying not to breathe. Then I heard Emma. "Daddy? I don't feel good." My daughter's voice, slurred and sleepy. The melatonin, he'd already given her the melatonin. "It's okay, princess. Just go back to sleep." "Where's Mommy?" "She's at her conference, remember? Now be a good girl and go to bed." "I want Mommy." "Emma." His voice had an edge to it now. "Go. To bed." I heard her little footsteps padding toward her room. Every instinct screamed at me to run to her, grab her, and get out. But there were at least 2 men downstairs, maybe more. If I showed myself now, if they knew I'd seen the evidence, we'd both be in danger. I waited until I heard Marcus go back downstairs, then I crawled out from under the bed and crept to Emma's room. She was lying in bed, her eyes half closed, fighting the drowsiness. When she saw me, her face crumpled with relief. "Mommy." "Shh." I put my finger to my lips. "We have to be very, very quiet. Can you do that?" She nodded, suddenly alert despite the medication. "We're going to play a game, okay? We're going to hide, just like hide and seek, but you have to be absolutely silent, understand?" Another nod. I scooped her up and carried her to the hallway. The attic access was a pull-down ladder in the ceiling. I'd never been grateful for my height until that moment. I reached up, pulled the cord as quietly as possible, and lowered the ladder inch by inch. The attic was dark and cramped, filled with Christmas decorations and old furniture. I pulled Emma up behind me and closed the hatch just as I heard voices getting louder downstairs. We huddled behind a stack of boxes. Emma curled into my lap, and I wrapped my arms around her, my phone still clutched in one hand. I opened the voice recording app and hit record. The voices were clearer now. They were directly below us, in the master bedroom. "Marcus." "Okay. The kid's asleep. You're sure about the timeline?" Unknown voice, 1. 9:15. The short circuit sparks, fire starts in the basement. By the time anyone notices, this whole place will be an oven. Unknown voice 2. And you're sure they're both upstairs? Marcus. The kid's in her room, knocked out. My wife's supposed to be in Seattle, but even if she came back for some reason, she'd be in the master bedroom. Either way, they won't make it out. Unknown voice 1. And the insurance? Marcus, 1.5 million. After I pay you guys off and settle with Crypto King, I'll have enough to start over. Maybe move to Arizona. Fresh start. I pressed my hand over Emma's mouth, feeling her hot tears on my fingers. My own tears were falling silently onto her hair. Unknown voice 2. What about evidence? Investigators are going to check everything. Marcus. It'll look like a faulty electrical panel. Old house, old wiring. Happens all the time. They might investigate, but they won't find anything. I've been careful. Unknown voice 1. You better be right about this. Because if it goes sideways, it won't. Marcus cut him off. Trust me. By tomorrow morning, I'm a grieving widower, and you're both $20,000 richer. My hand was shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Emma was trembling against me, and I could feel her trying not to cry out loud. A new sound. Footsteps on the attic ladder. My heart stopped. Unknown voice 2. What about up here? Should we check? Marcus. The attic? Why would anyone be in the attic? Just being thorough. The hatch started to open. I grabbed Emma and pulled her deeper into the shadows, behind an old dresser. We pressed ourselves against the wall, not breathing, not moving. Light spilled into the attic. I could see a man's head and shoulders as he climbed up, shining a flashlight around. The beam passed right over our hiding spot. For a second, I was sure he'd see us. Emma's shoe was sticking out slightly. I used my foot to nudge it back. Nothing up here, the man called down. Just junk. Told you, Marcus said. Come on, we've got 30 minutes to set this up and get out before 9:15. The hatch closed. I waited, counting to 60 in my head. Then 60 again. Then I checked my phone. 8:58 p.m. We had 17 minutes. I pulled up my text messages and found the contact for Janet Reeves, my lawyer and friend since college. We'd met at UCLA and stayed close through everything. My wedding, Emma's birth, my father's death. She was the one person I trusted completely. I sent her the photos of Marcus's emails, then I sent her the voice recording I'd just made. Then I typed, "Call 911, Marcus is trying to kill us, house fire planned for 9:15 p.m. We're hiding in attic. Send police to 2847 Maple Street, Portland." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hit send. Then I heard it. The sound of drilling from the basement. Emma whimpered against me. I held her tighter, checking my phone every few seconds. Had Janet seen my messages? Would she call the police? How long would it take them to get here? 9:04 p.m. 11 minutes. The drilling stopped. I heard Marcus and the two men talking, but couldn't make out the words. Then I heard the front door open and close. A vehicle starting up. The white van, probably. Were they leaving? Was Marcus going with them? I risked pulling out my phone's flashlight, shining it around the attic. There was a small vent near the front of the house. I crawled over to it and peered down. Marcus's car was still in the driveway. The white van was gone. He was still in the house, maybe making sure everything was set, maybe checking on Emma one last time, maybe just waiting for 9:15. 9 p.m. My phone buzzed. A text from Janet. "Oh my God. Police are on their way. Called 911. Stay hidden. Don't let him know you're there." Another buzz. This one from Marcus. "Hey babe, how's the conference? Emma and I are having pizza. Miss you." The casual cruelty of it made my stomach turn. He was texting me while he waited for my house to burn down with me in it. 9:12 p.m. I heard sirens in the distance. Marcus must have heard them too because I heard him swear loudly from downstairs. What the hell? The sirens got louder. Then I heard car doors slamming, heavy footsteps, voices shouting, "Portland Police! Marcus Chen, come out with your hands up!" "This is a mistake," Marcus yelled back. "I haven't done anything. We have evidence of a planned arson and attempted murder. Come out now." What happened next felt like it was in slow motion and fast forward at the same time. I heard more shouting, the sound of the front door being kicked in, Marcus protesting, handcuffs clicking. I climbed down from the attic with Emma still in my arms. My legs were shaking so badly I almost fell off the ladder. A police officer met me at the bottom, and I saw his eyes go wide when he realized who I was supposed to be. The dead woman. Walking and breathing and holding her daughter. They'd found Marcus in the kitchen, and when I walked past him, flanked by officers, his face went white, then red. "Sophia? What? How? You're supposed to be in Seattle!" "I was," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Until our daughter warned me." He looked at Emma, still drowsy from the melatonin but awake enough to stare at him with those big, knowing eyes. "You little," he started, but an officer pulled him back. They found the 2 men Marcus had hired pulled over 3 blocks away. They found the hole drilled in our electrical panel, exactly as described in Marcus's notes. They found everything. The district attorney later told me that Emma's voice memo, sent to Janet at 8:43 p.m., would have been enough evidence on its own. But combined with the photos I'd taken of Marcus's laptop, the recording I'd made in the attic, and the physical evidence in our basement, it was an airtight case. Marcus pleaded guilty to attempted murder, conspiracy to commit arson, insurance fraud, and a dozen other charges. He got 25 years. The 2 men he'd hired got 10 years each. Crypto King 88 turned out to be part of a massive fraud ring that was already under federal investigation. Marcus's testimony helped bring down the whole operation. As for Emma, she's the one who saved us. Not just because she warned me, but because she'd been smart enough to send that voice memo to Janet before I even got home. She'd remembered meeting Janet at my father's funeral, remembered that Janet was my lawyer, found her number in my phone, and sent her a message, "Mrs. Janet, my daddy is planning something bad. Please help my mommy." Janet had called Emma back immediately, gotten the whole story, and told her to pretend to take the melatonin but spit it out. That's why Emma had been alert enough to hide with me in the attic. My 7-year-old daughter had more sense than I'd given her credit for. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. I got the house, which I immediately sold. I couldn't sleep in a place where my husband had planned my death. I used the money to open a small pediatric clinic in a different part of Portland, specializing in trauma care for kids. It felt fitting. Emma and I moved into a bright apartment with big windows and smoke detectors in every room. We got a golden retriever puppy that Emma named Hope. We started over. She still draws, my Emma, but now her pictures are full of sunshine and flowers and our dog chasing butterflies. Sometimes she draws the 2 of us, just us, standing in front of our apartment building, holding hands. She never draws our old house. She never draws Marcus. People ask me sometimes how I knew. How I knew to believe a 7-year-old's warning over my husband of 9 years. How I knew to turn around on that highway. How I knew it wasn't just paranoia or overreaction. The truth is, I didn't know. Not for certain. I just knew that when your child tells you something is wrong, you listen. Even if it sounds impossible. Even if everyone will think you're crazy, you listen. Because kids see what we choose to ignore. They hear what we pretend not to hear. They know things we've taught ourselves to doubt. I almost didn't listen. I almost kept driving to Seattle. I almost convinced myself that Marcus was right and Emma was just being dramatic. I almost chose to believe in the fairy tale version of my marriage instead of the reality my daughter was trying to show me. But I didn't. I turned around. And that choice saved both our lives. These days, Emma's a junior in high school. She wants to be a lawyer like Janet. She's brilliant and fierce and doesn't take anyone's nonsense. She's exactly who I hoped she'd be. And me? I'm 64 now, semi-retired from the clinic but still seeing a few patients. I never remarried, never even dated. Some people say that's sad, that Marcus stole my chance at love, but I don't see it that way. I have Emma. I have Hope the dog, who's old and gray now but still greets me like I'm the best thing in her world. I have my work. I have my life, a life I almost lost. Every November, right before Thanksgiving, Emma and I go to dinner at our favorite restaurant. We order too much food and laugh too loud, and make a toast to the same thing every year. To listening, to believing, to trusting our instincts. And to that picture she drew of our house on fire. The picture I still have, framed in my office, reminding me that sometimes the most important warnings come in the smallest voices. If you take nothing else from my story, take this. When someone you love warns you about danger, especially a child, believe them. Your life might depend on it.